As you're aware, in Excel, when you reference a cell, it uses a name with a column letter followed by a row number. So in our examples before, we had this January sales B5 times the commission rate B1. But you can actually name cells and then use those names within functions. Let's look real quick at some naming rules for our cells. First of all, you can use letters, numbers, periods, underscores, and backslashes. There are a few other characters that you can use as well, but important to note that there are some unacceptable characters. So you cannot use any spaces in your cell names or any mathematical symbols. Also, your name can't start with a number and it can't resemble a cell name. And it's important to note that the names are not case sensitive. So something in all caps is going to act the same way if it were all lowercase. So let's look at an example of how you might use this. Let's say to make it easier in your formula, you wanted to name this commission rate instead of B1, you wanted to name it something that was a little bit more descriptive. You can come into this name box right here and click, and it has B1 highlighted right there. We can type something else. So let's type commission underscore rate. Again, you can't use a space, so you could use an underscore in the place of a space. Now when we go to create our commission calculation, we can reference Jim cells and then multiply and then start typing the cell name, and it pops up right here. You can double click that and select it. And now we don't even have to worry about cell references because it acts as an absolute cell reference. The advantage of naming cells is when you have formulas, particularly complex formulas, it can be nice to, instead of trying to remember what B1 really means, you have a name here where it's a little bit easier to remember what you're actually doing. Obviously, calculating a commission rate like this is a fairly straightforward calculation, but if you've got a really detailed formula, this can be a great way to help you audit your formula or understand what your formula is doing. Another nice thing about naming cells is you can name groups of cells. So let's say we wanted to select this section right here for our commission expense. And we'll come over here into this name box and type commission total. And now we can use that name in a formula and it will reference all of those cells. So for example, if we wanted to add up all of the commission expense, we could type equals sum, and then instead of selecting the cells, we could write commission total, and it's going to sum all of those up. We've got $93,000 of commissions. This can be really useful for lookup functions as well. If you're using a VLOOKUP table or an XLOOKUP range or an index and match range, you can name those ranges so that, again, it's a little easier to follow the formulas that you may be creating. If you want to get more detailed with your cell names, come over here to the Formulas tab and click this Name Manager. Here you'll see a list of all of the names that you've given cells. So there's our commission rate and our commission total, as well as the value and the cell reference. Here is where you could delete or edit the cell. So let's say that you added April commission and you wanted that commission total to include April. You could come into commission total and click edit and then select that extra column right there and click OK. You can also create new cell names from this box. The advantage to doing that is there are a couple other options through the name manager that you can't get by just typing the name in the name box. So if you click this new button, here you can type any name that you want. Important cell. You can type a comment to explain it a little bit to help remind you what it is. But the big thing here is you can change the scope of the name. So it defaults to workbook, which basically means anytime you use the name important cell in this workbook, it will refer to this right now F12. But you can set it so that the name only works on a certain tab. So right now we're on the tab CM5.2, and if we set the scope to be that and click OK and close this, now we can reference important cell right there, and it will refer to that 93,000. But if we come to this CM5.1 and type equals important cell, it doesn't even come up as an option. So we've restricted important cell to only work on this tab.